scales tilting. Asia, automation, and abundance. Let's talk about automation. It's pretty simple automation. Or the point I'm making is relatively simple. Last century, machines replaced human muscle. That is, machines can do physical tasks, muscle tasks better than we can. This century, software is replacing our brains. But again, the part of our brain that software can replace for now is the logical linear sequential kind of side, not this side. And so you see white collar work now at risk of automation in the same way that blue collar work was automated last century. So you can find software to do basic legal tasks. You can find law software to help write your will, and you'll go to a lawyer for 1 hour rather than for 10. You can go in the United States to an online website and get an uncontested divorce for 1/10 the cost of going to a lawyer. In the United States, for instance, we have a very complicated income tax code. Even people who earn regular salaries still have to fill out income tax returns. It's very complicated, it's cumbersome, you got to keep a lot of records. That was great business. Anything that was complicated like that was great business for accountants, because people could go to an accountant and say, you deal with this. Now, accountants have a competitor in the form of a $39 piece of software called TurboTax. 21 million Americans are doing their each year are doing their taxes on TurboTax because it does routine work just as well. So, remember the first two forces. It is Asia and automation. The third force is abundance. Asia, automation, abundance. Now, abundance is actually a happier story, I think. By abundance, I mean that throughout the advanced economies, there is a staggering level of middle-class prosperity. The level of material well-being among middle-class people in countries like Japan, countries like, to some extent, countries like South Korea, throughout Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada, the level of material well-being in those places is amazing. Amazing. Regular middle-class people today have a higher standard of living than very rich people did not too long ago. 70 years ago, 100 years ago. Middle-class person in a country like Japan today has a higher standard of living than some of the richest people 100 years ago. That has profound effects on business. And the most profound effect is this. We have a lot of stuff. And the marketplace is filled with all kinds of stuff. All people have this incredible amount of choices. You see that here in Tokyo. You see that here in Tokyo, just the incredible amount of choices that people have for material things. Well, if you're selling things to people or selling services to people, how do you stand out in this sea of choices? Well, what people are increasingly using to stand out are these more right-brain things. The story behind the product, the design of the product, the meaning of the product. So we have now designer toilet brushes, which seems ridiculous. But again, it's a way to stand out in a crowded marketplace. We have all kinds of designer salt shakers and all kinds of other kind of designer products. You go to grocery stores now, particularly in the US, to a lesser extent here, and you can read about the story behind the food product. You can learn about, if you're buying rice cakes, you can read about the family farm that grew the ingredients in the rice cakes. There's one grocery store that I mentioned the other night that puts up big posters of the farmers who grow the food, to have the stories of all these farmers in the store. And so that becomes a way to stand out in this crowded marketplace. You're delivering what in technical design terms would be called significance along with utility. Everything that human beings make for other human beings is a combination of utility and significance, meaning that it has to work and it has to have some other kind of feature. What happens now is that we're very much in a significance economy because people can find stuff that works. Basically any kind of consumer good or even any kind of consumer service, you can find something that's not too expensive, that works reasonably well. So the only way to stand out is to create something radically new and dramatically better, or to create something that has another attribute to it. So it's a toilet brush that works well, but it's a cool looking, lovely to see toilet brush. So that's what abundance does.